are suffering, but democracy is gonna break it, just breaking it off.
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like! Everybody hold hands! We are not afraid to deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Black and white together. Black and white together. Black and white together someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. All around the world. All around the world. All around the world today.
حزب البعث وروح صلي حرف الاس ويلا ارحل يا بشار
يلا ارحل يا بشار.
ويلا ارحل يا بشار
يلا ارحل يا بشار. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
What blows me away is that these Wall Street guys, they do nothing. They run this weird casino, right? With all these smartest guys in the room from the Harvards and the Yales and the Stanfords. You know, where were all these people that we gave all these jobs to? All the professorships, all the different chairs of the various departments, all the different government jobs, the Harvards and the Yales and the Whartons and the Stanfords. Where were they? How come none of them rang the bell on this crisis? How come none of them told us that we were going to have a problem? Nonsense, it's all an illusion. It's all an illusion. It's a temporary transfer of funds from the bond market, which is 10 times the size of the stock market, over into the stock market. Just so you can see the Dow at 11,000. Oh, everything's fine now. Nonsense. Nonsense. And as soon as you stop looking, they're going to take their money back out of it, and it's going to drop down below 9,000.
We support you! We support you! We're the 99%! We're the 99%! Allez, balé, balé! Allez, balé, balé! Allez, balé, balé!
Under no circumstances can the police search you. That means that they have to be reasonable circumstances, and preferably under the Fourth Amendment accompanied by a warrant. Now, a warrant is a document signed by a judge agreeing that there's probable cause to search someone or someplace or to seize someone. And the idea behind that is that a judge is supposed to be a third-party neutral, who's not on the police side, who's not on the person's side, who objectively looks at the evidence and says, okay, that's enough evidence to give rise to probable cause to search or to arrest. Now, in the street, in the moment, a police officer doesn't have time to go back to a judge and to make his case and to get a signed piece of paper before he arrests you for walking in the street with your sign. And so there are exceptions. And one of the big exceptions is if a police officer sees you doing something criminal. If a police officer sees you doing something criminal, they have the right to arrest you. And if they arrest you, then they have the right to search you. However, there can be some question as to whether or not you're actually doing something illegal. A police officer can make an argument that you're doing something illegal, and they can certainly arrest you on the strength of that, no matter if the argument's bad. The important thing, which the NLG will probably get into in more detail, is that you don't waive your right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. say a police officer walks up to you and tells you to empty your pockets. If you just say, okay, and then you pull, say, 10 kilograms of cocaine out of your pockets, then that's a legit bust because you consented to that search. The police officer asked and you said, okay. Now, the important magic words to know in the Fourth Amendment are, I do not consent to this search. That won't stop the police from searching you. That won't make it so that they can't search you. But that preserves your rights so that if later on, God forbid, you get arrested and you're on trial on criminal charges, a smart attorney can come and say, this person didn't consent to this search and the police didn't have probable cause to search. So the fruits of that search, the thing they found, should be excluded. Now, this doesn't mean that you should be rude to the police because that can be bad for your health. I highly recommend that you do not sass police officers who have you in restraints. But what it does mean is that you can politely stand up for your rights. You say, I do not consent to this search. You don't say, fuck you, cop. You say, I do not consent. And that is enough to preserve the record. Make sure that you take notice of who's around. Be safe, be sensible. Now, the Fourth Amendment also applies to entries into homes. And that warrant requirement that we were talking about earlier has been held that it is presumptively invalid to search someone's home without a warrant. If you get arrested on the street and somebody searches your person, because you're under arrest for something, it's presumptively valid search. The basic idea is that since you're under arrest, it's okay. However, a police officer going into your home, if they don't have a warrant, the burden is on them to show that they had some important reason to do that. Now, here, nobody is at home. Everybody here is living in public to some extent or another. And so that means that your expectation of privacy is limited. That means that you don't have as much of an expectation as you would in your home that your private life will be kept private. So be sensible, be smart. Don't do illegal things in front of cops because, frankly, going to jail sucks. Now,
all around Zuccotti Park, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, all around Zuccotti Park, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, this red light of mine, come on, let it shine. Oh, this red light of mine, oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, Lord, this red light of
depression for a very specific reason, which is to steal everybody's stuff. What happened in the 20s? They lent out lots of money, and then they called in all debts and created a depression. Man-made. What did they just do? They lent out tons of money, and then they called it all in and took everybody's stuff. There is no reason for that to exist. Andrew Jackson knew that. Abraham Lincoln knew that. James Garfield knew that. Federal Reserve was created in 1913. And there have been multiple times in the history of this country in which we've had a privatized currency. And there have been many attempts to get rid of it, and then they try and come back, they get rid of it, and try and come back. Who owns money is in absolute power of all industry and commerce. And if you understand that that power is concentrated in the hands of a very few powerful men, you'll begin to understand inflation and depression. And the Bank of England is the same thing. That's why this is going on worldwide. This isn't isolated to the United States of America. It's going on in Greece, in Italy, in China, everywhere. This financial crisis that is created by the bankers. So this whole thing is created by banks. Basically, banks own everybody's currency because they figured out if you own the currency, who cares who the politician is because they can do whatever they want. And in 1913, we leased that right to the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal and has no reserve. And they're like a parasite. What they basically do is the government creates money, or they create a bond. The Federal Reserve takes that bond, chops it up, and then using fractional reserve banking, makes interest off of all of that. The only reason why we have an income tax is to pay the interest on our own currency. What the hell is that? But the reason why the country has bills and can't pay off its debt is because we own interest on our own currency. Why do we have interest on our currency?
Hey, let's do John Lennon, Give Peace a Chance. You know, where's me now? I'm about it, talking about it now. How about this? All we are saying, give us a chance. Is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. Everybody's talking about iPhones, ringtones, beatones, sing-tones. Everybody's singing. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. Come on now, yeah. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. Everybody's talking about JP Morgan, Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, and all banks now. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. All we are saying is give us a chance. I want everybody's voices. Come on now, we got people now.